The events of our movie kick off in Afghanistan in the year 2021. Around this time, the terrorists have stolen a massive amount of American weapons and ammo, not to mention all the military vehicles and armored trucks. We see a little girl walking into an Afghan camp, and an old man hands her a bag full of cash to transport to the other front. The little girl slings it over her shoulder and moves out of the camp, walking for a really long time until she runs into a shepherdess named Sarah. She greets her, and the girl continues on her way until she reaches the other front, where the soldiers take the bag from her and start moving out in their car. We then go back to the shepherd girl, and judging by her hair, you can tell she's totally playing us because she pulls a walkie-talkie out of the small bag she took from the little girl. She calls a guy named Maximus and tells him she got all the details, ordering him to start executing their plan. By then, the soldiers are driving along in their car and suddenly find Sarah the shepherdess blocking their path. Out of nowhere, she pulls out a weird weapon and opens fire on them. The soldiers quickly jump out of the car and get into a fierce shootout with her. Right then, Maximus shows up with that tough, bald head of his, flanking them from behind to catch them off guard. His plan works perfectly. They manage to kill the soldiers and hijack the car. His buddy then goes up to open the door, but unfortunately, he's already dead. So Maximus tells him, "Get down, buddy. Get down, kid," and goes up to break the door himself. He grabs the bag of money and hands it to Sarah, who tells them that their mission ends right here. She says they have to go back to the informant to get their new instructions. Unfortunately, my friend, we're gonna leave this hot chick and take a quick trip over to Canada, but we'll be right back. So just drop a like if it's not too much to ask. Now here's Jackson, who's been climbing this mountain for 3 hours straight and is sweating bullets. While he's climbing, he remembers his daughter Haley, who passed away 4 years ago. Right then, he gets a call from his buddy Bill, letting him know he's got a client who wants to go deer hunting, assuming it won't interrupt him. Jackson tells him, "You called at the perfect time," and lets him know his wife is making his life a living hell. Plus, he's been out of work for a while. He asks him to book the exact same hotel they always use. In seconds, my friend, he slides right down the mountain so he can rush to tell his wife the news and head out. As soon as he walks into the house, he catches her in a completely sketchy position with the plumber. So he starts absolutely breaking the guy's bones. But his wife just keeps screaming at him, telling him he ignores her all the time and does absolutely nothing with his life except climb mountains. She acts like it's no big deal and tells him to just let it go. But all Jackson does is keep the guy pinned down and beats the absolute crap out of him. He tells her he wishes he had died alongside his daughter Haley before ever having to witness her cheating on him. And his wife, my friend, throws her wedding ring right in his face, smashes a carton of eggs on his head, and completely ruins him. The next day, Jackson leaves the whole town in bales because of what went down. He hears on the radio that a plane crashed near the Canadian border and every single person on board died. Like, hasn't the guy had enough sadness, guys? Just leave him alone already. As soon as he arrives in the city, he finds a teddy bear dropped by a little girl walking with her mom. When he hands it back to her, he remembers his daughter Haley while he was sitting around playing catch with her. While they're playing, Jackson throws the ball a bit too far, and naturally Haley runs after it to grab it. But right at that moment, a car comes speeding out of nowhere at a crazy speed, hits Haley, and unfortunately kills her. Back in the present, Jackson drops his bag and decides to take a hike through the woods to track the deer and find out where they hang out. We cut back to the love of my life, Sarah, who is out searching for the pilot that was in the crashed plane, and she's got a massive squad of soldiers with her. Sarah orders them to find the pilot as fast as possible by any means necessary because he's carrying a bag that is extremely important to her. On the flip side, Jackson goes to knock back a couple of drinks before he kicks off his hunting trip. He spots a beautiful girl working there named Katie. The two of them just keep locking eyes until Katie accidentally drops her tray and almost gets fired because of him. A little while later, his buddy Murphy shows up, who unfortunately already found out what Jackson's wife did to him, and he just sits there laughing at the whole situation. But in the end, he's totally shocked to realize that the exact same thing happened to him too, so they just sit there laughing together. After that, Jackson goes back to prep his weapons and gear for the hunting trip. Suddenly, he hears a commotion outside, so he grabs his pistol and goes out to see what's going on. He's surprised to find some drunk guy harassing Katie, but as soon as the guy spots Jackson's gun, he jumps in his car and speeds the hell out of there. Right then, Katie thanks him for helping her out, and it turns out she actually lives in the room right next to his. The next day, Jackson goes to his buddy Bill to meet the client and kick off the hunting trip. Bill is also pretty bummed out because he and his wife split up too, but when he hears Jackson's reason, he tells him, "Tomorrow I'll marry you off to the best woman out there." When Jackson asks him about the client, Bill surprises him by saying it's a woman, and right then Katie walks into the place. She is actually the client that Bill brought him, and obviously Jackson is standing there in total shock, completely speechless. Anyway, he takes her and they start their hunting trip. Katie talks with him and lets him know that before her dad died, he promised to take her on a hunting trip, but sadly, he passed away before that could happen. Because of that, she decided to go on a hunting trip for his anniversary. In another part of the forest, Sarah and her soldiers are tracking down any trace of the pilot, whose story we still have no clue about. At night, Jackson breaks down all the details for Katie and the schedule they'll follow to start hunting. Katie suggests that she takes one path and he takes another so they can widen their hunting zone. But Jackson shoots that idea down because it would put her life in danger. He explains that there are certain animals they're strictly forbidden from killing, and since they are close to the Canadian border, they need to be extremely careful. Katie gives him a look like she totally gets it, then leaves him and goes to sleep. The very next day, they start their trek through the forest, and Katie suggests they split up for a second time, but Jackson shoots it down again. While they're walking, they hear footsteps nearby, and when they check out the area, they come face to face with a massive bear. Jackson tells her that this is the one creature you absolutely do not mess with because it hits hard and takes no prisoners. They start backing away from it super quietly so it doesn't attack them. After 10 straight hours of walking through the woods, Katie tells him, "That's enough for today. What are you, a mule that doesn't feel anything?" So Jackson tells her, "All right, fine. You just wait here and I'll climb up the mountain to scout the area from above, because there's gotta be deer close by." Of course, Katie agrees because she literally can't take another step anyway. Sure enough, as soon as Jackson gets up there, he finds a massive herd of deer and confirms their location. He starts watching them through his binoculars to figure out exactly where they're gathering. But he is completely caught off guard when he sees a parachute tangled up in the trees. He climbs up to it and finds the pilot of the plane dead. He moves toward him quietly to see if he's still alive or not, but he's totally shocked to find a bag completely stuffed with cash right under his leg. He doesn't even care about the pilot anymore. He grabs the bag of money and hauls ass out of there, but suddenly he hears a gunshot, so he sprints as fast as he can back to Katie to make sure she's okay. When he gets to her, Katie tells him she took a shot at a deer and almost bagged it. Jackson tells her, "Forget all the deer," takes her, and they head back to their tent. That night, Jackson is really weirded out by Katie because she took a shot at a deer when she's supposed to be on this trip as a memorial for her dad's passing. He demands she tell him the real reason she's out here. So Katie tells him she loves her dad a lot and lets him know he was a hunter just like him. That's why she's trying to do something he loved doing. And after that, she leaves him and goes into the tent to sleep. Jackson sits there remembering what his wife said to him when she was pissed off at him for being depressed all the time. She told him that just like his daughter died, it was her daughter too, and they needed to get through this phase together. But Jackson is basically a hopeless case because he blames himself for his daughter's death and just can't get over what happened. The next day, Jackson wakes up to find Katie outside the tent, sitting right by the fire. Jackson asks her, "Is it really that hot out?" Katie laughs at his comment and tells him this was her school uniform when she was a kid. Besides, they're out in the middle of nowhere and absolutely nobody can see them. At that exact moment, Sarah and her squad spot Jackson and Katie, and they are dead certain that they were the ones who fired the shot yesterday. And they obviously found the bag. So Sarah opens fire on them to kill them and get the bag back. But Jackson sprints at full speed with Katie, pulls out his pistol, and starts picking them off one by one with crazy high skill. He tells Katie they have to get out of the forest right this second before they die and get taken out. He keeps shooting at Sarah's men, and any soldier he catches a glimpse of, he completely finishes off. Katie is absolutely stunned by his strength and his insane skills. Right then, Sarah sees them making a run for it, so she radios the rest of her troops. She lets them know that the bag is with an extremely dangerous guy and a girl who's dressed a little too lightly. She orders them to cut them off deep inside the forest and commands them to capture them from the other front as fast as possible. At this point, Jackson just wants to make it out of the forest by any means necessary, but Katie stops him and says, "First off, I need some pants if I'm not going to slow you down. And second, who the hell are these people? And why are they shooting at us?" So Jackson tells her what went down up on the mountain with the dead pilot and the bag full of cash underneath him, which unfortunately he ended up taking, and that this is obviously the bag they're looking for and chasing them down to get back. As soon as he opens the bag in front of her, she is absolutely floored by the amount of cash inside. She cuts a deal with him right then. She'll help him get out of there alive in exchange for half the money. Jackson agrees to the deal, and they move out quickly before anyone spots them. On their way, they hear the sound of motorcycles closing in on their location. Jackson gets a genius idea right then. He tells Katie to hold the gun and shoot them the second they stop, just praying she doesn't end up shooting him instead. He then walks right toward them, acting like he's just going to hand over the bag without any trouble. The second they stop, Katie opens fire on them and manages to kill every single one of them. But suddenly, a sniper pops up behind Katie and threatens Jackson to drop his weapon on the ground or else he'll kill her. Jackson is forced to do what he says, but in his own special way, and he ends up killing him. At that moment, Sarah calls Maximus because the situation has totally spiraled out of control and fills him in on everything that happened. He tells her to send him the exact location and says he'll go capture them himself. We cut back to Jackson, who gets into a shootout with two of Sarah's soldiers. One of them is about to shoot him in the back, but Katie quickly warns him. Jackson manages to wipe them all out in seconds, grabs Katie, and they haul ass out of there. On their way, Katie asks him about his real hobby, because after what she just witnessed, there's no way he's just a deer hunter. So Jackson grabs a weapon from one of the dead soldiers and tells her exactly what every single piece of it is made of. He reveals to her that he was a Special Forces Navy SEAL and spent most of his life fighting in wars. He tells her that their only option right now is to escape over the mountain, assuming she's willing to risk her life for the money. He also says she could just grab a couple stacks from the bag and make a run for it on her own. But Katie is terrified for her life and tells him, "We only die once. Let's hit the mountain." At this point, Maximus is closing in on their location, but he still doesn't spot them. The two of them reach the mountain, and Jackson tells her he'll climb up first and then pull her up with the rope. Katie agrees to the plan and waits for Jackson to climb the mountain. But suddenly, Maximus appears right behind her and threatens her with his gun. Katie manages to strike him and makes a run for it. Jackson notices what's going down and tries to climb up fast to save her. Maximus yanks the rope Katie is tied to and pulls out his gun to kill her. At the very last second, Jackson pulls her up and opens fire on Maximus, who decides to bail instead of getting killed. Jackson manages to pull Katie all the way up the mountain and asks her when she learned to fight like that. She tells him her dad was hoping for a boy, and when he got a girl instead, he decided to teach her martial arts so she could defend herself. Katie is wounded in her leg, so Jackson starts treating her cut. He tells her that in this condition, they won't be able to run if they get into a firefight with the soldiers. They decide to ditch the large bag they're carrying and hide the money bag in a safe spot they can come back to later. The two of them head to a very distinct tree in the forest, and Jackson manages to stash the bag right inside the tree itself. He assures her that right now, absolutely nobody knows its location except them. They wait until it gets dark, move to another part of the forest, ditch their big bag, and keep going until they hit the snowy mountains. Sarah is already there, turning the place upside down looking for them. As soon as she spots them, she opens fire and chases them down. Katie tries to run alongside Jackson, but her injury is hurting her like crazy. When they reach the top of the mountain, Jackson tells her they have to jump into the river to survive. Katie is absolutely terrified, but she has no choice and jumps in with him. And with their totally rotten luck, the river is packed with massive rocks. Jackson tries to push Katie away from the rocks so she doesn't die, but he's the one who ends up disappearing. Katie keeps screaming his name, convinced he smashed into the rocks and died. But he pops up a little while later from under the water and tells her he just gave her a tourist tour that people pay top dollar for. They keep moving, and Katie is basically freezing to death. Jackson tells her, "I'm freezing too, but if we stop, we're gonna die from the cold." They keep walking together until they hit a road way outside the forest, realizing they'll have to walk the whole way to get to the city. But suddenly, he sees a bus heading right toward him, and the guy driving it turns out to be his buddy, Murphy. Jackson tells him their horses took off in the woods and they had to walk back. Murphy says, "Well, I showed up at the perfect time," and asks him about the hot chick he's with, so Jackson introduces them. They go to get on the back of the bus, but suddenly Murphy smacks him over the head with a wrench. Meanwhile, Maximus has been watching all this go down from a distance and decides to tail them. A little while later, we see the two of them tied up, with Jackson knocked completely unconscious. Murphy walks in and asks Katie about the bag of cash, but she lies to him, saying she doesn't know anything about any bag and insists they were just on a hunting trip. Murphy tells her, "I'm gonna make you confess, but my own special way." He grabs Jackson by the scruff of his neck, drags him to the torture room, and starts threatening to kill him if he doesn't cough up the location of the money. Jackson hits him back with, "What money? Life has literally stepped all over my face. My daughter died, my wife cheated on me, and I've got bills I can't even find someone to pay for me. Obviously, someone with my kind of bad luck is never gonna find any money." Murphy laughs and says, "Did I bring you here to cry to me about your problems? Where is the money before I rip you in half?" But Jackson was just stringing him along with all that talk to pick the lock. He smashes something into his head and kills him, then goes to look for Katie to save her. Right then, Maximus arrives at the place with Sarah, and they start tearing the place apart looking for them to get the money bag back. Jackson manages to reach Katie, unties her, and as they're trying to sneak out of the place, Maximus spots them and gets into a brutally fierce fight with Jackson. Katie throws down with Sarah too, and they all just start beating the absolute crap out of each other. Maximus is incredibly strong. He keeps pummeling Jackson, picks him up, and slams him into the ground. During this bloody brawl, they hear the sound of a gunshot. Maximus tells him, "Sarah definitely killed your chick, and you're next." But surprise, Katie is the one who killed Sarah, and she comes over and finishes off Maximus too. And with that, they've wiped out every single person that was hunting them. After that, the two of them rush over to the tree where they hid the cash. Jackson climbs up to grab the bag, and they're both super hyped that they're finally gonna be rich. But Jackson tells her, "There's just one thing I want to understand. How did your dad teach you martial arts but never let you hunt with him?" Katie laughs and tells him, "I'm gonna tell you a huge secret." She pulls a pistol out of her bag and shoots him with it. Naturally, Jackson drops to the ground in total shock. Right then, Katie calls her commanders to send a car so she can make her getaway. And we discover she's actually a double agent. Jackson tells her, "This definitely isn't the reward I get for trusting you and saving you from death." Katie laughs right then and lets him know that she was never actually going to reach this bag on her own because of all the people fighting over it and trying to take it. That's exactly why she seduced him and recruited him to do the dirty work for her, so she could get to the bag and wipe out all her enemies. Before Jackson can utter another word, Katie kills him, grabs the bag, and walks away. And that, my dear friend, was the end of the movie. Hope you liked the recap. Make sure to drop a like and leave us a lion emoji in the comments. And of course, if you want to keep up with all the new stuff from the Lion of Recaps, subscribe and hit the bell icon. And peace out.